My name is Bernard. I've been working in the cybersecurity field for over 20 years, with just as many years of education. There is a war going on that we are losing. I don't mean America or any other country. Every connected device and human on the planet are participants in this war, whether we like it or not. This war is happening through the networks, straight to our very identities. The attackers are unseen, and most people lack the proper knowledge to defend. Cyber war news is happening now! This is Cyber War News Now, reported on the Cyber War for April 27th. Current top headlines are changing passwords are useless, supply chain attacks, and Cleveland Airport ransomware. Let's discuss what is happening in the field. Microsoft states the password reset rule is useless. When humans are assigned or forced to create passwords that are hard to remember, too often they'll just write them down where others can see them. When people are forced to change their passwords too often, they make a small predictable alteration to their existing password so they won't forget. Microsoft isn't the first to ring this alarm. Security experts have complained for years that mandatory password changes aren't worth the trouble. Microsoft introduced a broader set of baseline security settings that may decide to recommend to companies that use its computer management software. However, Microsoft isn't simply yanking the password reset feature. It's worth noting that Microsoft isn't changing recommendations around the way we create passwords. In fact, tech giant recommends companies increasingly ban typically bad passwords and force employees to use multi-factor authentication. Periodic password expiration is an ancient and obsolete mitigation of very low value. I don't disagree, but I disagree. The reasons given to stop this method are great. However, credential stuffing is prevalent in the cyber war, and without changing your password regularly, it will be successful for that much longer. The best way would be to get a credential management system, so you don't have to remember any of your passwords. It costs money though, so most will just continue with the old way of trying to remember them all. There is no reason to hack systems in place if you can hack the software that gets installed on them before the software is distributed. The security sector is waking up to the insidious threat posed by software supply chain attacks, where hackers don't attack individual devices or networks directly, but rather the companies that distribute the code used by their targets. Researchers have uncovered evidence that the same hackers who targeted ASUS with that sort of supply chain hack earlier this year have also targeted 3 different video game developers. This time aiming even higher upstream, corrupting the programming tools relied on by game developers. Just weeks after revealing the ASUS incident in which hackers hijacked the computer company's software update process to silently infect customers with malicious code, it was connected to another set of breaches. The same hackers appear to have corrupted versions of the Microsoft Visual Studio development tool, which 3 different video game companies then used in their own development. The hackers could then plant malware in certain games, likely infecting hundreds of thousands of victims with a backdoored version of these programs. The video game attacks in particular represent a looming blind spot for many software companies. After using the malicious Microsoft development tools, each of the compromised gaming firms then digitally sign their games before distributing them, marking them as legitimate even though they contain malware. This represents an escalation over the ASUS case, where hackers altered the update files after they were created and used a compromised ASUS server to sign them with the company's key. Thai gaming company Electronics Extreme was one of the firms targeted in the attack. Its zombie-themed game, ironically named Infestation, carried the malware. Korean firm Zepeto as another victim, and its first-person shooter, Point Blank, as a second game that had in some instances been laced with malware. Software developers should ask themselves, where does your development software come from? Kaspersky Antivirus detected 92,000 computers running the malicious versions of the games, though it suspects there are likely far more victims. The malware is carefully designed to stop executing on any machine configured to use Russian or the simplified Chinese used in mainland China, where security researchers have suspected the supply chain hackers are based. It's still not clear how hackers tricked the victim companies into using the corrupted version of the Microsoft developer tool. It's possible the firm's programmers had downloaded pirated versions of Visual Studio from message boards or BitTorrent. It's more logical to speculate that hackers breached the companies first, then pivoted inside the network, looked for software engineers who worked on important executables, and backdoored compilers on site, rather than indiscriminately planting crimeware on as many machines as possible. The video game hackers appear to be performing reconnaissance. The malware seems to be a first-stage Trojan that simply gains a foothold and uploads a unique identifier for the machine back to the hacker's server, so they can then decide which computers to target later with a second-stage tool. The linked ASUS attack was similarly exacting, designed to install its payload malware on just 600 specific computers out of the hundreds of thousands it could have infected. Software developers should ask themselves, where does your development software come from? Is it a trusted source? Is it official? Is it untampered? When was the last time that software development companies checked the integrity of the compiler they're using? I have a feeling no one does this at all. Where does any of your software come from? Are you sure that you have a good copy, or is someone lurking? You should probably just go ahead and get that checked. Is anyone going to Cleveland soon? There appears to be a cyber attack at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. Cleveland officials from the mayor's office are reporting no hacking and no ransom demands. The city reiterated there is no impact to the airport's security and operations systems. However, airport flight and baggage displays are still currently unavailable. Sources say the attack is ransomware, which we know to be a program that holds a system hostage until a ransom is paid. With ransomware, you're going to want to make sure all your backups are completely separate from the system that got hacked to ensure they don't also get infected. You should routinely launch test attacks on the systems to make sure there are no gaps. If there are, you should get those filled in. It gives you a good perspective as to what your situation is. The city won't confirm what happened and what's going on. All the city has said is a tired and misleading phrase that this is an isolated incident. Now, it should be noted that the first step to incident response is admitting that you have a problem. It looks like what they're trying to do is first isolate all of their systems. The second thing is they're going to try to figure out how it got in. How does ransomware get in? Probably phishing. Then the third thing they're going to do is they're going to try to restore. Now, restoring from backup is really the only 100% way to get rid of ransomware. Had the city kept its backup system separate from the one that was hacked, none of this would have been necessary. Now, earlier this year, the city of Akron was hacked, and a ransom demanded. But they did the right thing. They had properly backed up their data, they ignored the threat, and just restored everything. Cleveland should probably be more like Akron. Something as simple as an employee opening a link they shouldn't open opens the front door to everything. When was the last time you completed a backup of your system? In a war we cannot see, knowledge is your only defense. Stay safe and stay secure, and we'll see you next time. I hope this video provides you with current information to prepare a cyber defense strategy. Please provide a like, and don't forget to share with those you care about. If you'd like me to discuss a specific issue or have a question, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and all of my social media outlets so you don't miss any of the top news from the cyber war. Thanks for watching.